Imagine living in a quiet neighborhood where you follow every rule and pay every due. Yet one woman from the Ho makes it her personal mission to ruin your peace every single day.
Ow.
She parks her shiny SUV right across your driveway, blocking you from leaving or coming home, and no matter how politely you ask her to move, she smirks and says it's public property. She calls herself the queen of the block and believes she controls everyone's life, but she had no idea that I was done playing nice. And this time, when she blocked my driveway again, I decided to make sure her precious car would disappear forever, and what happened next shocked the entire Ho. Every morning I woke up hoping that maybe, just maybe, Karen would stop blocking my driveway, but it never happened. I started documenting every single time she parked her SUV in front of my house, taking photos and even videos, because deep down, I knew I would need evidence sooner or later. I contacted the HO multiple times, but they brushed me off, saying street parking was not their problem, even though the very same Ho loved sending warning letters. If someone left their trash cans out for more than an hour, Karen seemed untouchable. She was friends with half the board members and acted like the neighborhood was her personal kingdom. She would wave at me with a fake smile each time I confronted her, saying things like, "Oh, you are late again. Too bad, guess. You should wake up earlier, or maybe you should move to another street if you want a clear driveway." I tried to stay calm, but inside I was boiling because my job required me to leave at specific times, and she knew it. She was deliberately making me late. One Friday morning, things got worse. I had an urgent meeting across town, and as usual, Karen's SUV was blocking my driveway. I knocked on her door, no answer. I called the Ho. They said they would log my complaint, but could not guarantee when they would respond. I even called the non-emergency police line. They told me it was a civil matter, and I would need to handle it through the Ho. I stood there staring at her car, feeling trapped and humiliated. Once again, while she was probably sitting inside laughing at me through her blinds, that was the exact moment I decided enough was enough. If no one would help me, then I would help myself. I spent that entire weekend researching every legal way to deal with an abandoned or illegally parked vehicle. I learned about towing laws, private property rights, and something even better, a loophole that could make her car disappear without me technically touching it. On Monday morning, I set my plan in motion. I woke up extra early before anyone else in the neighborhood was outside. I placed traffic cones along the edge of my driveway, making it look like a construction zone. I even printed out a fake city notice that said "No parking, temporary work. Zone violators will be towed immediately," and taped it to a wooden post right next to where Karen usually parked. Sure enough, around 7:30, her SUV rolled up. She slowed down, saw the cones and the bright orange sign, and for a moment, I thought she might finally stop, but then she smirked and parked even closer to my driveway. Then, before completely ignoring the fake notice, I watched from my window, gripping my coffee mug so tight I almost broke it. She got out, looked right at my house, and muttered something under her breath before walking away. That was the last straw. I picked up my phone, called a towing company, and explained that an unauthorized vehicle was blocking my driveway and that I had the right to have it removed. They asked for proof. I sent photos, and within 30 minutes a massive tow truck pulled into the street. The tow truck driver stepped out, looked at the SUV, and then at me. He asked, "You sure this is blocking your driveway?" I said absolutely, and showed him how I could not pull my car out. He nodded, hooked the SUV, and within minutes, Karen's prized vehicle was being lifted off the ground. I stood there feeling a strange mix of relief and nervousness as the driver hauled it away. Moments later, Karen came running down the street, screaming at the top of her lungs. She pointed at me, yelling, "You can't do this. That is my car." I calmly replied, "It was blocking my driveway. The city allows towing for that." She threatened to call the police, which she did, but when they arrived, I showed them the photos, videos, and even previous complaints. They looked at her and said, "Ma'am, he is within his rights." Her face turned red as the tow truck disappeared around the corner. Thought the nightmare was finally over, but I underestimated just how far Karen would go to get revenge. That evening, I found a nasty note taped to my door. It said, "You think you won, but this is not over. I will make sure you regret this the next morning." She was outside yelling to anyone who would listen that I had stolen her car. She even told people I was dangerous and that the Ho should take action against me soon. I started receiving warning letters from the HO about supposed violations. That I never committed uncut grass trash cans left out loud noise complaints. It was obvious she was behind all of it instead of panicking. I decided to keep documenting everything, every letter, every encounter, every word she said. I installed cameras around my house and saved every clip because something told me I would need all of it soon. Karen was relentless, but what she didn't know was that I had already contacted an attorney who specialized in HO abuse cases, and he advised me to keep gathering evidence while staying calm. He said, once we had enough, we could shut her down legally and possibly even remove her from the HO board. Weeks passed, and Karen kept escalating. She started leaving her trash bags in front of my driveway. She even poured something sticky on my car hood one night, thinking I would not catch her, but my cameras recorded everything in crystal clear detail. I took the footage straight to my lawyer, who smiled and said, "This is perfect." We filed a formal harassment complaint with the city, and at the same time my lawyer prepared a case to sue her for damages and harassment, but I still was not done because I wanted to make sure she never blocked my driveway again. I discovered that our neighborhood streets were actually owned by the county, not the HO, which meant I could request official no parking signs to be installed along my driveway. I submitted the paperwork, and within 2 weeks, bright metal signs appeared saying no parking driveway. Access required, violators will be towed. Karen lost her mind when she saw them. She screamed at the workers installing them, but they ignored her and finished the job. Now legally, she could not even stop for a second in that spot from that day forward. Karen's power started to crumble. Neighbors, who once tolerated her, began to see the truth, because I quietly shared the video clips of her pouring syrup on my car and leaving trash on my driveway. People were shocked, and some even admitted she had harassed them. To a small group of residents got together and filed a petition to remove her from the HHO board while my lawsuit was still in motion. Karen tried one last desperate move. She parked her car across my driveway again late at night, thinking she could block me before I noticed, but this time the no parking signs made it easy. I simply called the county sheriff, who had her car towed immediately. She came running out in her pajamas, screaming at the deputies, but they ignored her and warned that next time she could face fines and even criminal charges. That night, her SUV disappeared once again, and this time it was taken to an impound lot far away, where she had to pay hundreds of dollars to get it back after that second tow. Karen went quiet for a while, but I knew she was planning something, because people like her never stopped. Then, one afternoon, a certified letter arrived from the HO claiming I owed thousands in fines for rule violations, none of which were real. I immediately sent copies to my attorney, who laughed and said they just made a huge mistake. He filed a countersuit not only against Karen, but also against the entire HO board for harassment, retaliation, and abuse of authority. Within a month, they were all forced to attend a mediation session where every piece of evidence I had collected was laid out on a large screen: the videos, the photos, the fake violation letters, and even recordings of Karen threatening me. The mediator looked furious and warned the board that they could face serious legal consequences if they did not resolve the situation immediately. Karen sat there red-faced, trying to interrupt, but the mediator told her to be quiet or leave, balls fine, and to pay a settlement. To cover my legal fees, they also voted Karen out of her board position effective. Immediately, she stormed out of the meeting, shouting that the neighborhood would regret this. But by then no one was listening. She had lost all her influence, and most of her so-called friends stopped talking to her after seeing what she had done. As for me, I finally had peace for the first time in months. No more blocked driveway, no more harassment, no more nasty notes. I even installed a small camera facing the street just in case, but honestly I didn't need it anymore because Karen started parking 2 blocks away just to avoid me. Her once shiny SUV now had dents and scratches from all the drama she created herself. I looked at it one morning as I backed out of my now clear driveway and thought to myself, that car really did disappear for good, at least from my life and from my property in the end. I learned that sometimes standing up for yourself means gathering evidence, being patient, and using the rules to your advantage rather than losing your temper. Karen thought she was untouchable, but all it took was persistence and the right steps to make sure she could never control my life again. The HO changed their policies after my case making. It easier for other residents to report harassment and illegal parking, and now, whenever I see those no parking signs, I feel a quiet sense of victory. So what would you have done if someone like Karen kept blocking your driveway? Would you have called a tow truck, confronted her every day, or tried a completely different approach?